My dad spent my entire childhood trying to erase my mother's family from my life. Now he says he misses me and wants a relationship again. I'm 21. My mom died when I was 3. I barely remember her. Most of what I know about her came from my grandparents. That was exactly the problem for my dad. After my mom died, my grandparents helped him constantly, babysitting, meals, money sometimes. They were grieving too, but they still showed up. Then, a few months later, my dad decided they were a threat to the new family he wanted to build. His exact words, not mine. He told me that himself years later. He said he wanted me to have a real mother, not grow up attached to dead people and grandparents who would keep reminding me of the past. So he cut them off. The only reason I still saw my grandparents at all was because they took him to court. They got visitation rights, 2 overnight visits a month. My dad hated it, absolutely hated it. He moved us hours away to make it harder, tried to change the agreement repeatedly, kept looking for reasons to stop the visits completely. Every few months, there was another complaint, another hearing, another excuse. According to him, my grandparents were destroying the family. Then he met his wife. I was 6 when he introduced us. Not long after that, he sat me down and asked if I was excited to have a mom again. I remember saying, I already have a mom. That answer caused problems for years. After that, my dad became obsessed with making me accept his wife as my mother. He pushed me to call her mom constantly. If I forgot, he corrected me. If I refused, he acted hurt. His wife pushed even harder. She would say things like, a real family moves forward, or it's unhealthy to cling to people who keep you stuck in grief. I was 7. I did not even fully understand what grief was yet. I just knew people kept getting angry because I loved my grandparents and still talked about my mom. My dad even tried to use that against my grandparents in court. He claimed they were poisoning me against his wife. The judge disagreed every single time. That made him even more bitter. Then my half siblings were born, and suddenly everything became a loyalty test. If I spent time with my grandparents, my dad would say I was rejecting the real family. If I looked unhappy in family photos, his wife would ask whether my grandparents had been saying things again. When I got older and could text my grandparents directly, my dad lost his mind over it. He once took my phone for 2 weeks because I called my grandmother during a family barbecue. His exact words were, you need to learn who actually matters. The thing is, my grandparents never tried to turn me against him. Honestly, they could have. They had enough reasons, but they mostly just listened. They answered questions when I got older. They told me stories about my mom, showed me pictures, told me she loved me. That was enough to make my dad furious. His wife was even worse sometimes. One time when she was pregnant, she told me, if you keep choosing your grandparents over us, don't expect the baby to see you as family. I was maybe 11, and I remember saying, okay. That answer made her cry. Apparently, I was supposed to beg. My dad used guilt constantly. If I had a grandparents' weekend, suddenly he planned some huge family activity on the exact same day: trips, movie nights, birthday dinners. Then he would say things like, normal kids want to spend time with their family, or one day you'll regret choosing outsiders over the people raising you. Outsiders. That was what he called my mother's parents. The older I got, the worse it became, especially because I stopped pretending. I never called his wife mom. I never saw my half siblings as replacements for anything. I never agreed that loving my grandparents was betrayal. That drove him insane. When I was 17, we had our biggest fight. He told me directly, I'm tired of them ruining this family. I said, they're my family too. He said, no, they're holding you back from your real family. I remember laughing a little because by then I realized something important. He did not want a relationship with me. He wanted control over how I love people. Then he gave me an ultimatum. He said if I wanted a future with him and his family, I needed to stop seeing my grandparents once I turned 18. I asked what would happen if I refused. He said, then don't expect us to keep supporting you. That was the moment something changed permanently for me. Because until then, part of me still believed he loved me underneath all the manipulation. But love is not supposed to feel like negotiations. After that, the house became unbearable. His wife barely spoke to me. My dad acted disgusted whenever my grandparents were mentioned. Even my half siblings started repeating things they heard from them. Stuff like, why do you love them more than us? I did not. But I was tired of being punished for refusing to erase people. The second I turned 18, I left. My grandparents picked me up that morning. My dad would not even look at them. He stood in the doorway with his arms crossed while I loaded my bags into their car. Right before I left, he said, you're making the biggest mistake of your life. I said, no, you did that years ago. Then I left. We did not speak for almost 3 years. Not birthdays, not holidays, nothing. Honestly, my life became calmer without him. Not perfect, but calmer. No loyalty tests, no guilt, no pretending. For the first time, I could talk about my mom without someone acting threatened by it. Then last month, he contacted me completely out of nowhere. He texted, I miss my son. That was it. No apology, no accountability, nothing. Just, I miss my son. At first, I ignored him. Then he kept texting. Eventually, I agreed to meet him for coffee because part of me still wanted answers. He looked older, smaller somehow. For a second, I actually felt bad for him. Then he started talking. He said he never imagined we would go years without speaking. I reminded him he literally told me to choose between him and my grandparents. He said, I thought you'd grow out of it. Grow out of it. Like my mother's family was a phase. Then he said something that honestly stunned me. He said, you have to admit your grandparents made things difficult. I just stared at him. After 3 years, after everything, he still could not admit what he did, still could not take responsibility, still blaming the people who fought just to stay in my life. I asked him, why was loving them such a threat to you? He got quiet. Then he finally admitted it. He said he hated feeling like he could never fully replace the life he lost after my mom died. Not just her, the version of himself before she died, the family they had started. He said every time I talked about my grandparents or my mom, it reminded him he failed to rebuild it. For 1 second, I almost understood him. Then I remembered something important. Being hurt does not excuse hurting your kid. I asked him, so instead of dealing with your grief, you tried to erase mine. He said, that's not fair. I said, no, fair would have been letting me love everyone without making me choose. He started crying after that, actual crying. He said he made mistakes. He said he thought he was protecting the family. He said he wanted another chance. Then he asked if I would come to dinner sometime and reconnect with everyone. Everyone, meaning his wife too, my half siblings. The whole family system built around pretending my grandparents were the enemy. And honestly, that was the moment I realized nothing had really changed because even now he still wanted reconciliation on his terms. No real apology to my grandparents, no accountability toward me. No acknowledgement of how much damage he caused. Just, can we move on now? Update one, I told him I needed time. That was true. Part of me still loves him. I probably always will. He's my dad. That does not disappear just because someone fails you repeatedly. But another part of me keeps thinking about childhood birthdays where he turned everything into a competition against dead people and grieving grandparents. Update two, my grandparents told me they would support whatever decision I make, which honestly made me emotional because they never once demanded loyalty from me. That is the difference. They fought to stay in my life. He fought to control it. Update three, I still have not decided what kind of relationship I want with him. Maybe limited contact, maybe nothing, maybe something in between. But I know one thing now: love that demands you erase other people is not really love. And parents do not get credit for wanting a relationship later if they spent years destroying it first. I spent most of my childhood feeling guilty for loving the people who loved my mother. I am not doing that anymore. If my dad wants a place in my life now, he can start by accepting that my grandparents were never the problem. He was.